Born in a matchbox, the tiny parrot that wasn't meant to survive. Not every life begins with a warm nest or the comfort of a mother's wing. Some begin in silence, in the palm of a stranger's hand, in a place as unlikely as a matchbox. This is the story of a parrot who never should have survived, but because one person chose to care, he got a second chance. Scene 1. A discovery no one expected. It was just a regular visit to a pet shop, but as he walked past the cages, something made him pause. There, on the floor of a budgie's cage, lay an egg. Unattended, cold, barely noticeable. He glanced inside the cage. Only one budgie remained, a male. The shopkeeper casually mentioned she had sold the female earlier that day. She hadn't even realized she'd left behind an egg. At that moment, he didn't hesitate. He asked for the egg, and she gave it to him, almost relieved to hand it off. He held it in his palm. It was unbelievably small, almost disappearing between his fingers. He didn't know if it was alive, but something inside him whispered, "Try." Scene 2. A matchbox journey and a flicker of life. He wasn't a breeder or a veterinarian, but he did have one other thing: hope. He put the little egg into an old matchbox, which he had lined with cotton balls, just enough to cushion the egg for the trip home. He then went directly from there to a small incubator he owned. He set the temperature to create a warm, still environment and gently placed the egg in. He would inspect it daily, rolling the egg carefully from side to side, much like a mother bird would do. And on the 5th day, something shone. Thin red lines, a flash, one heartbeat. He gasped. That was it. Evidence that this was more than just an egg. It was a life that needed to be born. Scene 3. The fight to hatch. He turned the egg gently 3 times a day, just like a mother bird would. He watched it constantly, his heart aching with hope. Then, on the 19th day, it began. The shell cracked. Tiny movements stirred within. It was slow, painful, but the baby parrot pushed through. When he finally emerged, he looked impossibly fragile. His body was pink and soft, eyes sealed shut. But something was wrong. Part of him was still stuck, attached to the eggshell by a tiny umbilical cord. He was trying to move, but couldn't. The rescuer acted fast. With trembling hands, he gently cut the cord and freed him. Now fully in his palm, the chick was barely breathing. So small, so silent, but alive. Scene 4. The feeding bond begins. Now comes the hardest part. Feeding a newborn parrot isn't easy. Their bodies are delicate. Their needs are exact. He studied, prepared a soft white formula, warmed it carefully, placed the baby on a folded tissue inside a shallow bowl. With a tiny spoon, he brought food to the chick's beak. Nothing. "Come on, baby," he said. "You got this." Then, a slight movement. The chick opened his beak and took the tiniest of sips. And then, one more. The crop, a small pouch in his throat, started to swell. The rescuer had never seen anything more beautiful. The chick sipped slowly at first, but then more eagerly, as if to say, "This is what life is all about." They did this 8 times a day. Nourishment, to wipe, and comforting. With every instance that the chick leaned into his touch, the rescuer felt his heart was wearing love. He was no longer simply maintaining a living bird, but he was becoming a different thing altogether. A dad. Scene 5. The first flight. Time passed. Soft white feathers, shimmering in the light, began to appear. The baby parrot got louder, curiouser, lighter. He would go crazy and start chirping when his rescuer entered the room, would climb onto his fingers and bury his face on his palm. And then, one day, after being fed, the chick did something different. He fluttered his little wings. One flap, 2 times, and flew. Wobbly, short, clumsy, but he did fly. He broke down in tears. It was not elegant, but it was liberation. He led the chick over and over, coaxing him, applauding him for every effort. The baby slowly learned to trust his wings. Scene 6. A father remembered. But one thought still remained. The real father, the baby's father, the male budgie abandoned at the pet store. He called. The male budgies are still there. He had told himself that he would attempt to bring them together when the baby was able to fly. Scene, guava, flight, and trust. The rescuer sat on the sofa later that day. They shared guava together, rescuer and parrot. He perched on the rescuer's knee, nibbling tiny bites. He flew gently to a small tree in the showcase, then back to his rescuer's finger. Because by now, he knew this man was his whole world. Scene 7. A reunion. It was time. He took father from the shop. The father budgie flew out as soon as the box was opened and began to call, flying around the room. The baby parrot responded to the sound. And then he brought the baby forward. The 2 birds met, eye to eye. No words, just recognition. Did they know? In our hearts, we believe they did. The baby had found his dad. The dad had found his son. And the rescuer had found love. Every rescue begins with a dramatic call or a wild chase. Sometimes it starts with a whisper, a heartbeat, a choice to care. This parrot was never meant to survive, but someone didn't walk away. Someone believed he deserved to live. If this story touched your heart, don't let it stop here. Support rescue teams, adopt, donate, volunteer, share. Because there are so many tiny lives still waiting for someone to notice them. Be the reason they survive. Be the hand that holds their future. Like, share, subscribe, and always choose kindness.